I don't know if I should reconcile with my ex-wife after 2 aborted attempts. I 54M met my wife 55F in the military in 1991. We dated for 2 years and got married in 1993. We had 3 wonderful, happy years together, traveling and just having a blast being best friends. When I got out of the military in 1996, we moved to a big city in her home state. She went back to the Catholic Church, and we started having kids. I finished my degree, got a job downtown, and bought a lovely house in the suburbs. We were deeply in love and had a wonderful life. In 2008, now with 5 children, I got sick and ended up getting rushed to the hospital. I was admitted to the ICU, and they told my wife I had less than a 20% chance of surviving and recovering. I ended up being in the ICU for just over 4 months before I finally recovered. I spent 2 additional weeks in the regular hospital after being released from the ICU and came home to start a long recovery of physical and occupational therapy. The doctors told us that I would likely have additional flare-ups of the autoimmune disease that caused my hospitalization. My wife told me that this was all too much, she couldn't raise 5 kids alone, and she wanted to move 3 hours away to a small rural town by her family. I told her this didn't make sense, I needed to be close to the hospital in the big city where we lived, and it would be even more disruption for the kids. 2 weeks later, I came home from an overnight stay in the hospital for a procedure to find the house empty. She had used our savings to do a lease purchase on a house by her parents and moved herself and the kids there. I decided that I would sell the house, stop trying to go back to work, and move to be with her and the kids. While I was in our house getting it ready to sell, she had an affair. She told me about it the next day. She said she ran into her boyfriend from high school, they went out for coffee to catch up, and it just happened. I was devastated and filed for divorce. We officially separated. I staying in the old house and she lived in the new lease purchase 3 hours away. I would drive up Friday night, spend the night, pick up the kids early Saturday, drive them back home late morning, and then have to drive them home Sunday night. 3 months into separation, I met a woman at physical therapy. We dated for 9 weeks before she asked if she could move in. When I wouldn't let her move in, we broke up. After 8 months of separation, my wife asked me if we could reconcile. I had returned to work but it wasn't working out. I was going back onto STD with the intention that I would probably go on LTD. Since I wasn't going to be able to work anyway and my medical situation was stable, I considered selling the house and making the 3-hour move. I started visiting the kids at her house and that led to her and I going out for dinner. She invited me to move in with her. I told her I would but that she needed to know that I had slept with someone while we were separated. She became angry, said I had betrayed her, and withdrew the offer to move in. Instead, she had me served with divorce papers. I sold the house as part of the divorce and downsized to a smaller house about 40 minutes closer to her. Fast forward 11 years. I have been on disability this entire time and have been in and out of the hospital and the ICU over the years. I have dated 4 women in those 11 years but never got to the live together phase. She got remarried, and it was a tumultuous relationship. The 2 of the middle children came to live with me. Her dad died of cancer, and her mom had just died of COVID. She and her husband separated when she caught him cheating, and she responded by cheating back on him. With her and her husband discussing divorce, she approached me about considering moving in together platonically. We had a date picked out, and her house packed up. As the weeks went on, we progressed from her moving in as a roommate to her asking if I would consider going to couples counseling to discuss a possible reconciliation. I was thrilled that we could be back together. The night before the move, she told me that our oldest was refusing to move into the dorms and wanted to stay in the house, so she and my oldest would be staying in her home, but the other 4 kids would move in with me. She and her husband ended up working things out. He moved back in a few months later. A year and a half ago, my youngest asked to move back in with her mom, so we got her moved back 3 hours away so she could start high school there. Fast forward to last month when her husband was injured in a freak worksite accident. He suffered a head injury on the job and died in the hospital the next day. Now, for weeks after his funeral, she called me last night. She said she is considering returning to the city when our daughter graduates next year. She said she isn't ready to date yet but that when she is prepared, she would like to go out on a date with me and see if we think we could make things work like they did before we had kids. I told her that while those were the happiest years of my life, I didn't know if we could be that way together again. She had crushed me when we didn't reconcile the last 2 times, and she never apologized for cheating on me in the first place. I don't want to get hurt again, and I don't know if I can trust her. I would love for us to work things out and have a happy ending together, but I don't know how to get from where we are to happily ever after. I don't know what to do from here. I am willing to give her a chance, but at the same time, I am highly skeptical that she will keep her word and reconcile. She knows I never stopped loving her, and she may feel that she has no other good options besides getting back with me or living alone. I told her that we would need to go to couples therapy before I would go out with her on a date or move in together, even as roommates. She is saying that she would be willing to go to couples counseling, but she needs more time to grieve first. Which do I listen to, my heart or my gut? If I do decide to give her a chance, how do I go about it?